So I I often work, so I literally work with this idea of the researcher as a sensitive research instrument, and this could be like a scientific researcher, but also an artistic researcher, or sometimes I also say the artist as the person as a sensitive instrument. But now, so I'm mainly focused on researchers, not so much like I did before, like companies and that, but I really engage in arts and science. And I built the course up according to a few questions about this instrument. So I always start with this idea of the black box, so that there's something happening inside of the instrument that we're not aware of, because the instrument just functions and there's no need to open it up. You know, this happens, of course, in scientific instruments, like you just use it, or your laptop or whatever. If you use it, but then if it works, you have no idea what is going on inside. Only if it breaks, you open it up. And I think the same thing happens a lot with bodies. Like you just use your body, but then you break your leg, and you suddenly become aware of the fact that you walk usually, or you get a burnout, and you suddenly become aware of your boundaries, which you weren't before. Well. So the first topic is what happens inside the instrument, and I work a lot around patterns, which has to do with what are ways of using your body you automatically do, like because you've learned them already in previous practices, or the way you grew up, or your education, etc. But also, what are your imaginations about your own body? What images are you familiar with? So like here in the West, we are very familiar with this imagination of a physiological body, of an anatomical body, whereas somewhere else one may think more about this idea of a holistic body, or like a body with energy, like prana or whatever. So we work a lot around imagination and the way you think and do your body, think about and do your body. So that's a lot about interest sensing. What do I do when I feel my body? Like very becoming aware of different ways of feeling your body, feeling the boundaries of your body, what happens inside, what even becoming aware that feeling tired is a sensitivity, right? So it's not always super complicated. And then the second, for instance, the second topic is outside the body. So this is very much about how do I attend to my surroundings. And I think here comes into play maybe what you consider as senses, but I don't know. So here it's a lot about like how do I attend to spaces, to objects? How do I attend to what is happening around me? And how does this also influence the way I use my body? Yeah, so here it's also a lot about listening and touching and hearing, touching, smelling, etc., but also constantly aware of the back and forth, so that using your senses is not something one directional. It's not like, oh, I open my ears and information comes in, but I actively use my body in a way that allows me to listen, and then also becoming aware of what is it, what does it mean when I listen? Like it's very different for each person what listening is. So that will be the second, and then we more and more kind of disentangle this inside and outside, because it's not so easily defined, because you constantly attune to your surroundings. And I talk a lot about body boundaries and how they can expand or become more tight, or how they may open up. So I like this idea of attunement a lot, and this kind of incorporating and excorporating. So while you sense your surroundings, you also constantly shape your surroundings, and this back and forth I work a lot with. through because I think I think you're interested also in how do you do that. Like, I think you want to learn, you want to know about practice. I'm talking a lot, but so through, for instance, making people walk in their surroundings, but like, for instance, you know, becoming aware of your surroundings first, but then maybe changing something in your body that makes you sense your surroundings in a very different way. Using, for instance, imagination. Like, what happens when you go to the supermarket, but now you imagine that that you don't have bones? You know, how does this shape your environment? How does this change the way you sense your surroundings? Or if you imagine that your surroundings are something different, like you're moving through jello, how does this make you feel your body in a different way? But also very, very nuanced things, like how does it change when it's raining and when it's not raining? How do I use my body differently? So very small nuanced things as well, and also very like imaginative experimental things, but always in a way that is accessible, in the sense that it's still walking to the supermarket. So it's very mundane and very daily life kind of.